Hello everybody, it's Mr. Q again. What's up? I hope you guys are staying safe and having fun. Today I want to talk to you about the capital city of New Mexico, which is Santa Fe. So I want to share at least 10 things with you guys about Santa Fe, New Mexico. So take some notes and let's get started.
Today I'm going on a trip to Santa Fe, just for a few hours, so I've packed my go bag, my daily excursion bag. Let's see what I have inside of it, to see what you can put inside of your bag. Oh, charging cable, hats, water, snacks, all the things you might need to go on a little hike to make sure that you stay hydrated, and in case there's a lot of sun you have a hat. I also have a mini umbrella and a power pack. So it's good to have a little backpack when you're gonna go on a little excursion, to carry the things that you don't have room in your pockets for.
Santa Fe, New Mexico. Okay, well, first of all, you probably need to know, where is New Mexico? Because it is not Mexico. Many people confuse the two because they don't understand that Mexico and New Mexico are two different places, and they are part of two different countries, obviously. So, New Mexico is between Arizona and Texas. Mexico is south of the United States. Yes, New Mexico touches Mexico, but they are not the same. All right, so Santa Fe, New Mexico is in the north of New Mexico. So Albuquerque, the biggest city in New Mexico, where I am right now, is the biggest city in New Mexico with the biggest population. And north of that, about an hour north, about 60 miles, I guess, 70 miles, an hour north, about, is Santa Fe. That's the capital city, and it's a very art-oriented city. It's a very culturally intrinsic city in regards to the Hispanic and Native American cultures. So that is where Santa Fe is. It's in not the very north, maybe the 3/4. So Albuquerque is in the middle, 3/4 is Santa Fe.
You can see New Mexico in the southwest of America, and that Santa Fe is a little bit northeast of Albuquerque. As I was saying, Albuquerque is very artsy, so there are lots of different cultural representations of art with the Native American, the Hispanic, and paintings, sculptures, and there are many museums that you can go to enjoy this art.
Santa Fe was founded in 1610, 1610, so 1610 AD, by the Spanish. Some of you may remember from your history that a lot of the south of America was explored and settled by the Spanish, especially in the southwest. The French also founded a little bit of the south and the north, but the Spanish had a huge hand in founding and settling in Mexico and in the southwest of the United States.
Southwestern food involves a lot of beans, rice, and spicy foods, and of course, fun decor in the restaurant.
All of the Southwest, including Santa Fe, is famous for its Pueblo-style architecture. And what that means is they build with a lot of clay and stucco, and they call this adobe. So adobe style. So it's not bricks and rock and wood like you see in a lot of houses. Like you look at the house and you can see the wood, you can see the bricks. But in adobe, it's about using nature, right? So they're using the dirt, the clay, the mud to make their houses. And when they do this, it's supposed to make the house, it's supposed to insulate it to help protect it from extreme hot and cold. A lot of the United States in the Southwest is a desert. So deserts have extreme shifts in temperatures, especially in the summer. It can be super hot, and then at night it can be super cold. So it's important that you have a structure that can insulate you from getting too hot and from getting too cold. And so they use this adobe, natural substances, to be able to help insulate their houses, to keep it more of a neutral temperature inside, if possible. Now, in a desert, it's very dry, right? So one thing that we use here in the desert to cool our houses is called a swamp cooler. So I'm sure you're familiar with air conditioners, right? They're different than a fan. A fan just spins around and blows air. And an air conditioner does something similar, but it generates cold air that it pushes into the room. A swamp cooler is slightly different because what happens is it needs humidity to work. Now, there should not be humidity in the environment. It should be a dry environment, because what happens is there's water that drips onto pads, and then air is sucked through the pad, and when the air sucks through the pad and goes through the water, it cools down. So when air passes through water, it cools. And so then we send that air into the house, and that cools the house. It doesn't work very well in a humid environment because what happens is the water in the pad evaporates. And when it evaporates, that's how it cools the water. The air gets cooled by the water. So if it's humid outside, then the water won't evaporate properly. And so it won't cool properly. And so it's not very efficient. But these things work great in the desert, in the dry environment. So that's how, in addition to the insulation, we cool our houses with the swamp cooler, which helps keep us from sweating on the inside.
Diego Vargas helped with relations between the Indians and the Spanish. Here are some adobe architecture. As you can see, the architecture in New Mexico consists mainly of what they call adobe structures, which is a combination of clay, dirt, brick, and even hay to build their structures to help with making the inside of the structures cooler, because those insulate the buildings, and the flat roofs help deflect the sunlight and can help with when it cools down at night, getting rid of the heat that is stored up in the building. You can see that the adobe structure kind of looks like a little mountain or a cliff with little caves inside it, and that's something that you could find throughout the Southwest. This is ground level at the plaza, and you can see how it's just a nice little park in the middle of all the buildings, and people would come and gather here and kind of have dances and celebrations, and you can even have a wedding at the gazebo there, and you could enjoy being in the center of the city or town and enjoy listening to music and to the old style culture.
An interesting architectural feature that comes from Spain is the concept of a plaza. So basically you'll have buildings that make a square around an open area, or a park even. And that open area park is called a plaza. But the fun thing is, especially in Santa Fe, is they extend this plaza concept to buildings. So inside a building, inside your house even, there is an open area to outside, inside your house. So in the middle of your house, and so we call this a plazita. Ita means little, right? So a little plaza inside your house. And so you can go inside your house, and then inside your house, you can go outside and enjoy some fresh air inside your house, but outside. So this is a fun little architectural thing that they like to do up in Santa Fe.
Something common that you might see in many New Mexican cities is called a plaza, where you have a little park in the middle of some buildings, and usually you can drive around it. Many traditional buildings and homes, malls have these little placitas inside so that you can be outside while you're inside your building or home. Many of the buildings in Santa Fe have a courtyard inside buildings, so you can go into a building, and then in the middle of that building there'll be a courtyard called a plazita.
Some of you may or may not know that the Catholic religion is very important to the Spanish. So when the Spanish were exploring and settling the Southwest, they created a lot of churches all up and down this whole area. Mexico, Arizona, New Mexico, bits of Texas, right? All of that area, lots of churches. And so the oldest church in Santa Fe is called San Miguel, and it was built in 1610. So literally, probably one of the first structures in Santa Fe was this church. So not houses and other things. It was a church. But there's other interesting churches like the Loreto Chapel as well, that has a famous stairwell there that I might talk about in another episode. That was made in 1878. So over hundreds of years, many churches were created. And because Catholicism, right, the Catholic religion is so important to the Spanish, they even allowed a Native American to become a saint. So the first Native American saint from New Mexico was Kateri Tekakwitha. And so she was the first Native American to become and to earn sainthood in the Catholic Church.
There are many churches with different variety of structures, but they all kind of have a similar appearance to them, and most of them have bells to let you know when service will be. Church is a very important part of the Hispanic culture, and the churches here tend to have statues of the patron saint of the church. This one is Saint Francis. Here's a monument to the first Native American saint that the Catholic Church recognized.
All right, guys, Let's recap what we talked about today about Santa Fe. Santa Fe is the capital city in New Mexico, which is in the middle of the Southwest in the United States of America. It's north of Mexico, but between Arizona and Texas, and south of Colorado. Albuquerque has the biggest population and is the biggest city, and Santa Fe is the next biggest city with the next biggest population. And they have Pueblo-style architecture, which includes the adobe, the clay-style buildings. And they, because of the Spanish influence, have a plaza in the middle of their city, and even inside their buildings they have plazitas, right? Little outside places inside the middle of their building. And because the Spanish settled at it and explored this area, they created many churches, like the San Miguel Church, which was the first structure built in Santa Fe in 1610, and other interesting churches like the Loreto Chapel in 1878. So there's a lot of interesting cultural things to experience in Santa Fe in regards to the Hispanic culture and the Native American culture. All right, so today's homework, I want you guys to think about the capital city in your state or country, depending on where you live is organized. Maybe you have a capital in your region or in your state. If not, you can talk about your capital city. And I want you guys to write 10 sentences about how your capital city is different from your city, maybe. Are there more statues? Is the architecture different? Are the people different? Right? Talk about these differences. Write down at least 5 to 10 things about those things, and see if you guys, your classmates, are thinking the same thing. All right, share it with your classmates, and I want you guys to keep staying safe and having fun. We'll see you next time. All right, bye-bye.